Chances are, if you learned about tabletop RPGs in the last 15 years, you started with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I literally cannot be bothered to tell you about the previous editions of D&D, but here's the thing. Hasbro, the company that owns Dungeons & Dragons, wants you to forget them too, so they can sell them to you again. 5e, the Walmart of RPGs. Have you ever thought of a fantasy trope or archetype you wanted to play? I'm sure you can buy it from 5e for a very reasonable price. And just like a Walmart, this one is going to take longer to get through than I thought it would. I might also end up having a deep philosophical debate with the guy ahead of me at the gun counter, because he really thinks this is the place to gather like-minded people to complain about Walmart having so many cameras. Anyway, speaking of making a character, making a new character takes like 4 hours, during which time you'll be taking a tour of a confusing sequence of steps that only mean something if you know what they mean already. I tried to think of ways to illustrate that, but I think the easiest way is to ask, how many people have learned 5e without watching videos, live plays, or having someone else teach them? That's what I thought. The game relies on cultural momentum to keep it going, so the rules don't have to be laid out in a way for the everyman to learn from scratch. They use a thing called exception-based rules. Basically, read these 20 pages of rules. Got it? Good. Now everything else in the book is going to be something that breaks those rules. You can never, ever cast 2 spells in a turn. Unless you can with this feat, or that meta magic option, or that subclass. That may sound reasonable, but when you start stacking those, it gets messy real fast. Especially when the exception doesn't tell you what the original rule was. It'd be like me telling you, good job, you picked the red door. That means you don't have to fight a lion. You'd likely be rather confused, because it was unclear you'd have to fight a lion otherwise. And now you're learning that that was the default. If you're the kind of human being who likes reading rules to know how to play the game, instead of how not to, I'm sorry? This decision about exception-based rules makes lots of table arguments happen too. Even if it's not, like, tense, it kinda sucks to get yanked out of the game because you have 3 exceptions stacked up. That means you get to play the game like normal, but nobody remembers what normal is because they've all got exceptions too. Let's run through the average experience of playing 5e. A sort of exercise in empathy. You create a character. You pick a race, things like human but pointy, human but short, human but beardy, human but green, human but demon, or human. These choices give you generic ideas about those races. Species, or whatever, and little mechanical boosts. The specifics of what your race means in the context of the campaign can be sorted out by collaborating with your DM. You pick a background that you'll never think about again except that you have numbers added to your skills. Deep, insightful backgrounds like criminal or noble, all of which depend on collaboration with the DM to figure out what you're a noble of, or what criminal contacts you have. Unless, of course, you pick something like Hermit, which means you are, by design, disconnected from civilization, so you are actually role-playing by awkwardly staying out of conversations. Next you pick a class, which tells you what you're good at, and that's it. Wizards are good at casting a lot of spells, and they have to learn those spells through years of study with a trainer. Sorcerers are good at casting funky spells, which they got from an event in their past. Warlocks are good at casting 2 spells. Anyway, they're good at that because they're granted powers by a supernatural entity. Clerics and paladins get their power from their god. Druids get their power from nature, but they learned it from a druid circle. Fighters, barbarians, thieves, and rangers hit stuff hard, resiliently, sneakily, and distantly. Why they do so and how they learn to do so is not really defined at all. Let's say you pick a magic man, like a wizard. Welcome to the wild world of spells. The best part about spells in 5e is that there's a lot of them. So when a third of them are good, there's still a few to choose from. Spells range from universally awesome to incredibly situational. Some spells are not at all balanced because they're cool. Other spells that could be cool are totally nerfed for the sake of balance. Every, and I repeat, every wizard will learn Fireball. They're tactically an idiot if they don't. You can't have it both ways, Wizards of the Coast. Are we going for cool, or are we going for balanced? Besides the power differential, spells are written in a way that a lot of people just don't understand, especially new players or people who haven't played a lot of video RPGs or MMOs. Goes back to that exception-based writing. Now let's say you've played for a while, and your character levels up. Exciting! The rulebook will tell you what number go up, and maybe you get new feature. At some point in the early levels, you get to pick some sort of specialization, and pick carefully. That's your exact development path for the rest of the game. Number go up, maybe new feature, illusion of choice. And now finally, I have earned my right to talk about power creep. 5e characters are simply far too powerful, and I'll tell you the real reason that's a problem. You know what? I'm gonna make some people mad. It's a problem if you care about logical narrative in a world that makes sense. If you want a war game that lets you be a fantasy superhero and punch large things in the face, and you're willing to cope with a narrative that makes no sense deeper than the surface, 5e's fine. The moment the human being stops being a threat to you, you no longer get to be the underdog, really. Of course, there can be a bigger threat, something with a bigger fist than you've got face. But the rational man must contend with questions like, where was this large-fisted beast before I was at a power level the game deems roughly appropriate for me to fight him? Why is it that as I get more powerful, the world becomes in ever-increasing danger? You no longer get to save villages and have fun. Things that would threaten a village but not destroy it are far too weak to present a challenge. The things that would present a challenge to your intrepid hero would eradicate a village. The fact that the challenging monster hasn't eradicated the village yet is because of a plot contrivance. And these issues start to rear their bloated head around level 6 out of 20. There's a reason most campaigns don't last past level 10 or so. The heroes lose all sense of relatability as everyone at the table realizes, at least subconsciously, that Smaug the Terrible clamped his jaws around their torso, and they're still just okay now. Here's something else that contributes to the undoing of the game's reality. Every ability tangentially related to survival just removes all fun from survival. Instead of making a cool class ability that allows someone to engage with the world to forage or hunt or taste test water for purity or start fires or build shelters or whatever, there's just spells like Goodberry, create water, tiny hut, create bonfire. They all sound like flavorful additions, and in a book or something they'd be neat. But at the table, know how it turns out? Evening approaches, and the shadows grow close. We cast bonfire, tiny hut, create water, alarm, and Goodberry. Very well. You are well provisioned this night, but perhaps tomorrow I will win this war of attrition and drain your spell slots through repeated brutal combat, so you can't circumvent your needs so easily. This goes for stuff like the ranger not getting lost or losing speed in his favorite terrain, and dark vision in some aspects too. I get that this isn't a survival game necessarily, but it's really backwards that if you wanted to run a survival game, people would probably choose those abilities thematically, not knowing that it would boil the game procedure down to the least interactive way to engage. And those features are still there because the game wants you to think that you can run a survival game. Anyway, power creep is a good way to transition to the Dungeon Master side of the screen. Brother, you are left out in the cold here. You got a lot of work on your plate, even if you're running a module. You can go one of two ways. Nobody's character matters. Screw backstory. This is a war game with a narrative that justifies doing crap. And that sucks. Or you can try to be deep and narrative and give everyone the opportunity to contribute stakes to the game. Rich backstories, personal lore, threads of narrative that will interweave over an epic campaign. Sounds great, huh? Too bad the game will help you with literally none of that. The game gives zero narrative guardrails to character development. It leaves you, the nerdiest of the nerds at the table, to be assertive and shut down your friends' ideas when they make no sense. And then when you give up and say close enough to their irrelevant, passive, and self-aggrandizing ideas, now you get to try to find moments to inject ways to pay those ideas off in your campaign. And how do you do that? I don't know, I'm not a writer. You shouldn't have to be either. But once that backstory gets handed off to you, you're gonna have the nerdiest friends of yours staring slack-jawed at you until, by word association, their neurons fire that you've included something for their character. Now that you have given them dopamine because their ideas are made real by a shared fantasy, they tell you that the session was great. This gives you dopamine back, so you can continue pretending that this campaign is good, actually. It may sound like I'm being hard on players, but what else are they supposed to do? Even if you're in an established setting with a faction or something, they just get to say, I am a fighter in the Marigold Knights or something. Try to extract the backstory and it's still just unanchored nonsense, or they're somehow intrinsically linked to the setting's most important people, which probably means they're not getting much outside the main narrative anyway. Here's the most impactful way I can put all the issues of D&D. There is only one game, a Campbellian mono-campaign. The rules and the implied world building of the mechanics point to a singular sequence that the rules never acknowledge, and most people are willing to pretend can be ignored. Every single world in 5e should be a technomagocracy, ruled by a magically potent elite who control the economy, governance, and religion. There's literally no reason for this not to happen. If one mage ever has acquired the wish spell, it's over. If one small group of mages learned Fireball, ever, it's over. The cascading effects of magic being available in the world is never, ever realized in a logically coherent way, but that's what the rules point to being reality. So, within that setting, a small group of already exceptional people will rapidly rise in strength, slaying everything that comes against them, facing an increasingly powerful sequence of foes until they kill the most powerful thing that they don't agree with. Spoiled kids kill God. Every time. Not to get too into the weeds here, but Spoiled Kids Kill God is a really good summary of the minds behind this game anyway. It looks like Lord of the Rings, except everybody gets superpowers, and after Gandalf shoots Sauron in the face with a 9th level spell, everyone decides they don't need Eru anymore because they're so enlightened. And here's the thing that really grinds my gears. There are people, probably in the comments right now, that will offer advice on how to fundamentally change the game to make it better. And I've been that guy. I made spells harder to learn. I halved XP. I threw out balance and wrote homebrew and bought the third-party books and on and on and on. Somehow we all know CR sucks, but we're willing to work around it because we accept it somehow an impossible task for the game designers with the longest pedigree in the industry. But why? Why are we doing this? I love D&D, but whatever. I fix D&D by doing whatever. Why? Why are we propping up a thing that ends up making us do all the hardest parts? That leaves dungeon masters out in the cold to tinker with mechanics they shouldn't have to tinker with, and narratively justify the garbage that the game claims is coherent. We're not free to tell stories. We'll all always end up telling the same one. D&D is trying to be an everything game. A high magic, low magic, narrative, tactical, cinematic, strategy, role-playing game with simple mechanics and deep character builds. It tells you you can do any and all of these things without actually helping you to do so. And it isn't really an everything game. Every ability you get is essentially destructive to be more effective at hurting things. Heck, even the social abilities you get are basically a way for players to override the free will of the NPCs. So I guess is a little more heartfelt than I've previously attempted to be. Please look at other games. If you have to work so hard to fix a game, to make it be the game you want to play, it's not the game that you want to play in the first place. There are ways to play the worlds and stories you want to without having to be a game designer. Please, let it go. And listen, if you love Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, I do not care. Everybody likes trash somewhere. I like McDonald's, and I know that it's terrible. So if you like McDonald's, eat McDonald's. I don't give a crap. But at least be honest with what it is. You're not telling deep stories with it. And if you are telling deep stories with it, that's because you are a good writer, a good game designer. The game is not good. Game's not good, I'm telling you. You are overcoming the game. You're doing better than the product. Okay? That's fine. Do that. Do it. Play it. I don't care. But you know what? It's not good, though. It's not good. Alright, shut up. Go away.